Alright, there's a lot of exciting weather going on around the country today, so let's start with the low that's working its way through the southeast. Now you see this low is working through Louisiana and Arkansas early this morning, and it was really bringing some heavy rainfall accumulations, and then now at about 7 a.m. this morning it's working its way through Mississippi and Alabama. It's just being fueled by abundant warm air and moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and it's bringing some severe thunderstorms to Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, throughout the day today. And you see it's a really fast mover. So that first screen I showed you, that was about 7 a.m. this morning. By 1 p.m. it's already in Georgia. And then by about 7 p.m. tonight, it's already moved into South Carolina. So it's a really fast mover, but it's going to bring some exciting weather. It's going to be some pretty heavy rain, maybe some lightning, some hail in some places. I would say the flood threat and the tornado threat isn't all that high today, but it's still some exciting features going on in the forecast. And then that low is going to move off by the end of the day today. Like I said, it's a quick mover, shows up this morning, gone by this evening. But that low is actually going to intensify and then affect the northeast. So it's interesting to see what happens to that low as it moves off the coast. First, let's take a look at the mechanism driving this severe weather in the southeast. And like I said, not the biggest tornado threat today, not the biggest flood threat. So that's encouraging because we've been getting just way too much of that recently. But there is some heavy rain and possibly some lightning and some hail. And it's because of this low, as it moves through the southeast, watch what happens to these temperatures here. See right here, maybe everything's in the low 70s, maybe high 60s. And then as this low moves through, think about the winds around a low pressure system. It's counterclockwise. So on the right side, you have the southerly winds pushing all this warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico right into Alabama and Georgia. And you can actually see the divide of where this warm air works its way in to really southern Georgia, getting into 72, maybe 75. And then in Florida, you're working into the mid to high 80s associated with these winds pulling in the warm air from the Gulf of Mexico. It's also pulling in the moisture, and that's going to create a bunch of clouds and the severe thunderstorms that are really bringing the exciting weather that we're going to be seeing today. But like I said, it's a fast mover. By the end of the day today, that low is already long gone. And we'll take a look at what happens as it moves into the Atlantic Ocean. It's pretty interesting. First, let's take a look at some of the total accumulation, how much rain we're expecting. You know, it's some pretty heavy rain. You see places in Arkansas, northern Mississippi, about an inch and a half. And then that heavy rain spreads across the southeast throughout the day today, bringing maybe half an inch up to an inch to places in Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina. But it's not the craziest severe weather we've seen in the last couple weeks. There was a couple days where we saw 5 to 6 inches of rain in the southeast, so this forecast is kind of refreshing. Not tornadoes, no flooding, just an inch and a half of rain at the most. So it's kind of nice to see this give the southeast a little bit of a break. So just going over it, Arkansas, northern Mississippi, that's the bulk of the rainfall for this one. Maybe an inch and a half. Like I said though, as this low works its way off of really the coast of South Carolina, it's going to work its way into the Atlantic. And look at what it was when it was over the southeast. It's about 1,000 millibars. As it moves into the Atlantic, this low is actually going to intensify, get much deeper and much stronger. You'll see if I zoom in here, this low gets down to into the 980s, 986 at this point, so it's intensifying. And you can see as it intensifies, working its way down to 982, the winds around this low actually get stronger. And that is going to be bringing some interesting weather to the northeast throughout really Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So as this low, you see it moves really far off into the Atlantic. It's a bummer it doesn't just work its way right up the coast. That's where we could see some major snowstorms like we saw with some of the storms we've had in the last couple weeks that moved right up the coast where it can push in moisture, pull down cold air, give like a foot or two of snow to the northeast. That isn't exactly happening with this one, but there is some weather that's associated with this low. Even though it's way far off into the Atlantic, the winds are actually going to start pulling down this cold air into the northeast. You'll see right here, it's all greens. That's indicating temperatures in the 40s, maybe even 50s in some places. Well, as this low continues to intensify, it pulls that cold air down from Canada and the Arctic, and you can see that cold air really fills into the northeast throughout Wednesday evening and then lasting into Thursday and Friday. That cold air is going to stick around, and the bulk of it is really Wednesday. That Wednesday evening into Thursday morning, that's when this low is really driving some cold temperatures for the northeast. But you can see this low is just too far off. If it was, again, a little bit closer, we might have a major snowstorm for the northeast. But as it turns out, it's going to be mostly rain, little snow in select locations. So let's take a look at, this is showing some of that rain as it pushes north as that low is way off in the Atlantic. So you see it works its way into southern Pennsylvania early Wednesday morning, late Tuesday night, as by about 1 a.m. Wednesday morning, start to see some snow showing up in eastern and northern Maine. And then that snow sticks around in Maine throughout Wednesday morning. This is showing about 7 a.m. You can actually see where these isobars get a little bit closer. That's when that low is moving off in the Atlantic and strengthening. But like I said, it's bringing some of that cold air down, especially throughout the day Wednesday. So that's why Maine is getting a little bit of snow with this one. You can see there's just not enough moisture in the air though. If there was moisture, at this point all the temperatures were pretty cold, so if there was moisture we'd be getting a bunch of snow. As it turns out, the low is just too far off into the Atlantic, so really Maine was the only one to be picking up any snow on Wednesday. But then on Thursday, that low kind of sticks around and it continues to bring some cold air down. So really western Maine, northern New Hampshire, northern Vermont could be getting a little bit of snow 7 a.m. Thursday morning. I don't know if you're still commuting or if the coronavirus has you working from home, but if you live in northern Vermont, New Hampshire, western Maine, that commute Thursday morning could have a little snow, maybe some freezing rain on the streets. And you see, as that low just continues to hang out in the Atlantic, all of Maine getting rain throughout the day Thursday, and then northern New Hampshire maybe getting a little bit of snow. It's not the best accumulations. I'm really just hoping for one big winter storm to just end winter off on a bang, but doesn't really look like this is going to be the one. See, throughout the day Thursday though, Vermont and New Hampshire continue to get a little bit of rain. It's not the craziest rates we've ever seen, but it's something. Can't complain. And then Massachusetts getting rain throughout the day Thursday, and that rain sort of works its way into New York, but really New York is too far away from the moisture with this one to really pick up any precip. Let's take a look at the 24-hour accumulated snowfall though. You saw some snow did work its way into Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. So by about 1 p.m. on Wednesday, you can see northern Maine's picked up maybe 2 to 4 inches. That's going to increase to maybe 5 inches throughout the day Wednesday. And then really working into Thursday afternoon, that was where we saw a very northern tip of New Hampshire. Could be getting 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches of snow with this one, increasing to 2 to 4 inches throughout the day Thursday. So by early Friday morning, snow has worked its way into northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, very western Maine. 2 to 4 inches, maybe a bullseye of 5 to 8 inches in the higher elevation, colder places. It's something. It's a snowstorm, but it's not the craziest thing we've seen, but it's something. So there's really 3 different stories going on in the big picture of weather across the country. We have this system up here that brought some rain to the northeast yesterday, a little bit of snow to Maine. And then we have this trough down here that's bringing the severe weather to the southeast throughout the day today. Quick mover. And then we have this system up in the northwest. This, I think, in my opinion, is actually the big weather story for the day. Because we don't have floods, we don't have tornadoes in the southeast, at least I hope not, cross my fingers. But this system up here is actually going to be bringing 1 foot to 2 feet of snow to the upper northwest. And the reason for it, this jet stream right here, is just perfectly positioned to be getting all this Pacific moisture and just pushing it right into the northwest. So we got the moisture, that's one box checked. The other thing you'd want for a huge snowfall is cold air. And as it turns out, there's a giant trough that's going to be moving into the upper northwest, bringing down really cold Arctic air with it. You can see these purples. That indicates really cold temperatures, and that's going to be working into the northwest. Even this trough's going to continue to deepen throughout Wednesday and Thursday. So we got the moisture there, and we got the really cold air there. And then that trough is actually going to move up into the Dakotas and a little bit into Minnesota as well, where we're going to see some snow working its way into those locations as well. So that moisture, that cold air, it's going to combine to create an awesome snow day for the Northwest. You can see central Washington and Oregon and the Cascades getting 1 to 2 feet of snow with this one. This is probably the big weather story for the day. You can see Idaho, central Idaho, getting maybe 1 foot to 2 feet of snow as well with this one. And then you'll watch as this kind of dissipates and just spreads east and south as places in Montana could be getting 1 foot of snow. Montana's actually had a decent snow season. There's a couple of places, I think it was Great Falls and Missoula, that are actually above average snow for this year. And you can see they're going to get some more, 1 foot working into central Montana, and then that spreads out into Wyoming, where maybe it's 6 to 8 inches in central Wyoming. Like I said, and I showed, that trough is going to work its way up into the Dakotas and Minnesota, bringing that cold air with it. And we're going to first see that show up around 7 a.m. Wednesday morning as you see the first bit of snow work its way into North Dakota as this low moves into South Dakota. And then some really heavy snowfall rates just north of us. We'll see if that can move a little bit farther south. And then the heavy snow rates start to show up for South Dakota around 1 a.m. on Thursday. That's going to continue to build in through the region. You see it really spreads out. North Dakota starts to see some of those heavy snow rates, maybe 0.2 inches per hour. That's pretty good right there. And then really all of North and South Dakota covered in snow throughout the day Thursday as we start to see some of those heavy rates creep into the border of the Dakotas and Minnesota. And then Minnesota's finally getting it throughout Thursday evening into Friday morning. Minnesota starts to pick up some decent snowfall. We'll look at the accumulations in a second, but that looks pretty good. And then obviously rain on the eastern side. Around the low you have the warm air up on the right side, cold air on the left side. So it's common to see a band like this where you got rain, freezing rain, snow. And we're going to see that moving through Minnesota again throughout Thursday evening and early Friday morning. As that moves its way up into the Midwest, the low itself actually moves a little bit too far north for majority of the Midwest or Northeast to get any snow with this one. But as you'll see, Minnesota picks up some pretty good accumulations. Oh, that bullseye where we saw that heavy snowfall rate just north of us. That's about 1 foot just north of us. And then maybe 6 to 8 inches building its way into South Dakota, North Dakota throughout the day Thursday. And then you start to see it work into Minnesota, maybe 1 foot in the very northwestern tip of Minnesota. And then as that snow, you saw it wasn't that craziest rates ever, but you see it spreads out through majority of the state throughout the day Thursday into Friday morning, as maybe 1 inch to 2 inches are possible as that works its way back up into Canada. We'll keep our eye on this one. If it can pull a little bit farther south, maybe this could end up being a major snowstorm for the Midwest. The other thing to keep our eye on is if that low, as it moves off the southeast, we know it's going to intensify, but the question will be, could it actually move up the coast? If it does that, that could turn into a major snowstorm. So if you want to stay updated with both of these storms, I'm going to be doing forecast videos every single morning, just like this, so you can subscribe to my channel to stay updated with weather going on around the country. And I'm actually going to go live in about 2 hours. I'm going to do an hour-long live stream forecast. So you can either subscribe to my channel or you can check out my forecast playlist to stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching.